Hey, what's going on, guys? XpertFusion here, and today I wanted to do a little COD commentary again because I haven't done one of these in a couple days, and I feel like it'd be fun to talk about some Call of Duty 2020 related things, especially because of some recent information coming from Okami, which is one of the more reliable leakers in the Call of Duty community, and he practically says that this game is still going to release this year, no delay, and reveal will be released soon. So I'm okay with this. This is pretty much reaffirming the point that yes, COD 2020 is going to stay as COD 2020 and it's not going to be delayed into 2021. And I feel like you got a lot of people in the community saying it has to be delayed or else this game's going to fail. And I don't understand how you can feel that way when we don't even know everything. Like, yes, there's been leaks in the past that said the game was in a bad state, but those leaks were very, very long ago. The most recent leaks coming from Exclusive Ace has actually said the game's in a good state. They could have worked around the game very, very well. I'm sure Treyarch put in a shitload of hours. You had Sledgehammer helping, Raven, Beanox, all these different studios putting in work. I'm sure they were able to, put out a product that's pretty damn good. The only issue I think this game is going to have is definitely a lack of content. I'm sure they cut back a lot of things. I'm sure there's a lot of things that aren't going to be there at launch that will come later on. But my point here is, why is it such a big deal? I feel like for the longest time in the COD community, one of the biggest arguments people make for COD games is the amount of content in the game. They always compare the amount of maps in the game, the amount of guns, the numbers. It's always the numbers. It's what always matters to people. And I never understood that because yes, I would like to have as much stuff as possible, but I'm not going to rate the game based on how much stuff it has. I only care about the stuff's quality. So for example, I would rather have only 8 multiplayer maps as long as those 8 maps were really good compared to having like 15 maps, but out of those 15 maps only like 5 or 6 of them are really good and the rest are just shit. You know what I mean? I would prefer to have just those 8 solid maps. That's assuming that the maps in this game are going to be solid, and that doesn't mean we're going to have 8 maps in this game. That just is the recent leaks gave us 8 different map names. Obviously there could be more for launch. I'm sure there will be, but like I said, especially with free DLC, it shouldn't be an issue. Previously, I would agree it was a problem because in Black Ops 4, for example, there was some guns that were supposed to be there for launch. The SWAT, the Damien, and I believe the Cap 45, all 3 of those weapons were supposed to be launch weapons, but they had to push them back because they weren't having enough content that was going to be ready for launch. So they were like, okay, we're going to hold these off for DLC. But the problem is the guns in those games were in the battle pass, which is you could earn them for free, but they were still really far into it, so they were almost paid to a degree, but not really. And some of the maps also were pushed back as well, and when that happens, you kind of are forcing us to then pay for it when originally they were just going to be part of the $60 title for the game itself. But when you have free DLC, it becomes a thing that's not even an issue anymore. And I would compare this to Modern Warfare Remastered. Remember when Modern Warfare Remastered released? 10 maps on launch, right? There's 16 in COD 4, but only 10 of them released at launch. I didn't have a problem with that because why delay the whole damn game just because 6 extra maps aren't ready? Instead, you can release those 6 maps in a big update later on for free after you can polish those maps, after you can finish them up. It could be the same situation here. Maybe this game was supposed to have like 15 maps at launch, but they had to cut back like 5 of them, right? Why is that an issue? Literally just wait a month or 2 for them to bring them to us. I don't understand why people feel the need to have the full game, everything the game has except for a couple different DLC packs that'll come later down the line. They need all of that at launch. COD has never been a game like that. It just hasn't. They've had DLC since COD 4. I'm not too sure about what they had before that. I don't think they did. I'm pretty sure COD 4 was the first game to have any sorts of DLC. And since then, they've started doing free DLC updates and such. And we've had free DLC-like content since like Advanced Warfare, where there's stuff that's added into the game that you don't necessarily have to buy, but you could. And now with Modern Warfare, they have all sorts of free shit. It's just giving us free stuff every other couple weeks. That's awesome. The game is never going to be 100% complete at launch. Would I like it to have a lot of content at launch? Yes. But that doesn't mean I think the game needs to be delayed just because there's a couple more maps, a couple more guns, maybe a couple camos, maybe a couple gear packs, maybe like one zombies map or something that they'll just have to bring us a little bit later. I'm okay with that, as long as we eventually get it and they make up for it in terms of DLC. So like, for example, if there's supposed to be 2 zombies maps at launch and then they were going to do 4 DLC, let's say they take one of those launch zombies maps and they move them to DLC, we better get all 5 of those zombie maps as DLC instead of cutting one of them and just being like, oh, we'll just have 4 instead because we have to cut one of them. As long as they don't cut the stuff and they just bring it back at some point down the DLC cycle, I don't care. I really don't. I don't think it's a problem. I don't think it's something we should freak out about. Of course, you're up to your personal opinion. If that is something you really truly care about, sure, voice your opinion. I'm okay with that, but at the same time, I'm going to sit here and tell you that I think that's kind of a stupid thing to argue because it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, right? I want as much content as possible, right? But I don't need it right away. Look at a game like Fortnite, right? Which Fortnite was never intended to be what it was, obviously. It was actually in beta, and they were planning on releasing it as like a full game, but the beta just did so good, so they just left it in that state. But the game itself is so different today than what it was when it first came out because they consistently updated it, changed stuff around, which COD doesn't really do the same thing. They don't really change stuff necessarily. They usually just add stuff on top of it, which I've always said this is so much better to do. I don't like when games change content. I like when they add content. Another game that has a big problem with this is Rainbow Six Siege. They always change maps, they always change what's in the game, and it kind of ruins how it felt like 2 years ago. So new players who haven't played, maybe they played back in like 2017, and then they come back now, they're going to be so confused. If you just add content instead of removing it, they can still have a sense of familiarity from what was previously there. It's just there's new stuff on top of it to get them excited. But when you start changing the old stuff that was already in the game, that's when I start being like, I don't know about that. Which is why I've always said, instead of changing the Warzone map, just add a new one. You know what I mean? I liked how Blackout had added little locations here and there. I'm okay with that. But I don't like them changing locations for good. As long as it's like if it's a timed event or whatever, that's completely different. But if it's like something that's permanent, not a big fan of that. But as I said before, this game is going to be revealed very soon, likely within the first week of August. I'll be sure to cover it as soon as I can. I don't know if I'll be able to cover it as soon as possible based on, commitments I have in real life that I need to attend to. But if I am available right away, of course, I'm going to have some reaction videos, reviews, breakdowns for all the trailers and stuff that come out. And it seems like the game is going to launch sometime this year. We don't know if it's going to be October, November, or December. I'm betting on November or December, like late November into early December. There's no way they're going to give this game to us in October when it hasn't even been announced yet, like officially. They've said it's coming out, whatever, in the Activision's investors call, but they haven't even given us a name, right? There's no way they're going to have it October. They could have it ready for then, I'm sure, but I think having the extra month of polishing is going to be huge. I think that would have been huge for Black Ops 4. Black Ops 4, they just wanted to push it out before Red Dead Redemption 2, which I've always said was just stupid how they do this type of stuff because it ends up ruining the final product. Because yes, the launch product is the most important time for a Call of Duty game. It just is. Warzone was a little bit different, or Modern Warfare was a little bit different because of Warzone. But I think this game, if it's not going to add some massive expansion update like that midway through the game, the launch day is the most important day for this COD. And that's why I do think they need to polish the game instead of worrying about the number of content. That's what Black Ops 4 did. They were like, oh, we want to get 4 zombies maps out, right? They wanted to have these big numbers because they know people love numbers. Well, if they just decided to do 2 maps instead of 4 right away, they probably could have polished those 2 maps even better, and they probably would have been much better state at launch, and the zombies wouldn't have been as much of a shit show as it was at launch in Black Ops 4. They need to worry more about polishing the game, making sure it sounds good, looks good, making sure the gameplay is fluid, making sure there's not going to be too many crashes or glitches or bugs. That's what they need to worry about because that's what's most important for launch. If people really only thing they care about is checking the number of maps and the number of guns in the game, I'm sorry, but you're doing it wrong. You're having your expectations way too high for a game that was made in 2 years practically. Well, I guess a little bit longer depending on how much work Sledgehammer put in before Treyarch came on the job. But I have high hopes for this game. I do. I know I've been saying, keep your expectations low, which I think is good for the community to do. But for me personally, I've always loved Treyarch games. Even Black Ops 4, a game that has been hated by a majority of the community, I still loved it. So I don't think there's really much need for me to go into this game thinking it's going to suck when I honestly don't think it will, especially because of those recent leaks, which all sounded fucking incredible. The campaign sounds pretty interesting. Multiplayer is what we got probably the most information on, and multiplayer sounds like it's fixing a lot of the problems Modern Warfare had. If it still has skill-based matchmaking, shit, but I'll still deal with it and I'll get over it. Zombies, everyone's been saying zombies is going back to, like, you know, bringing back the perks from Black Ops 3 and such, and it's gonna have Transit remake and all this other stuff. We haven't had too much information on zombies, so that's a little bit more of a mystery, but I've also enjoyed majority of the zombies modes even recently, so I don't think I'm gonna hate this game. I don't think it's, I know the community's gonna hate it, right? And the reason why I say that is because they've hated every COD for the longest time. I can't think of a single COD title since Black Ops 2 that has gotten majority positive reception. Black Ops 3 probably got the most positive reception out of any COD the past like 6 or 7 years, but still that game got a lot of hate, especially from the casual community because of how, you know, rough the campaign was and because of the exosuits and because of the supply drops. And Modern Warfare definitely got more of a positive reception from the casual community, but from the hardcore players, my god, the game is being bashed to hell, which I'm kind of one of those people bashing it, I'll be honest. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, just a little bit of updates on the COD 2020 reveal information, release dates, and all that good stuff. Also just talking about the game itself and why I think we should just not be too worried about what's happening with it. And we should just go into it excited, but also, you know, not too excited. Keep your excitement a little bit lower. Just don't expect too much in the content department right away, but also realize that the game isn't just how it is on launch, right? The game matters how it is on launch. Of course, like I said, it's one of the most important things for it, but a month later, 2 months later, remember, these games can change drastically. You can go from loving the game to hating it within a month, or you can go from hating it to loving it with just a month worth of updates. It's literally, that's all it takes. Look at World War II. The April update changed that game from being kind of crappy to really one of the better CODs out there, at least in my opinion. Black Ops 4, I think, is a title that got better, especially with the November update after Modern Warfare release. It's been much more enjoyable during Modern Warfare's life cycle than it was during its own damn life cycle, which is really weird to think. But yeah, that's just how I feel about these games, man. I'm excited. Hopefully you guys are too, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.